This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you're about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. Okay, so this week we're talking to Lillie Kane. Lillie, I guess I started seeing you on YouTube actually not too long ago. It was weird. I hadn't seen you before, but I think it was in the shorts videos that I started seeing a lot of your content. I have to say that the amount that you can pack into that shorts video, it seems that it's amazing just how much information you can get into that 1 minute.
Yeah, thanks. Well, my
Yeah.
husband helps a lot with this. He does all the editing for that. So
Okay.
all the like
Okay.
sound effects and the filming, all that stuff. So he puts it all together. But yeah, we really try to jam in a lot of information in just 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time, that's for sure. And but I think it's a quick way to get that attention of people. I do some shorts videos as well. But I definitely don't. I haven't got to that level yet. So, anyways, usually I like to start off the podcast basically, getting to know the guest a bit better, and finding out sort of what brought you to getting into like the carnivore lifestyle to begin with, and then we can go from there and see where it goes.
Absolutely. So I grew up in San Diego, California. I was very low income. So my mom didn't have a job. My dad left when I was really young. So I grew up eating a lot of top ramen, macaroni and cheese boxes, just processed junk foods, shopping at the 99-cent store on food stamps. Now, I was always pretty lean my whole life because I think now back on it, my childhood, I was growing up pretty much in a calorie deficit where we just didn't have enough money for me to overeat. And then I was always teased for being chicken legs, flat chested, too skinny, anorexic. And so when I went off to college, it was my first time being able to have all you can eat buffet. And I was a track and field athlete. So all 4 years I was working out a lot. There were days where we were in the gym for 6 hours just because we were doing a track meet. So I still was able to maintain my weight, and I didn't still at that point make the correlation between like, okay, I'm having basically dessert for breakfast. I'm having waffles and syrup and oatmeal with lots of sugar inside of it. And then I'm having lunch, which is like, sure, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which is filled with tons of sugar and also raisins and just snacky things. And then at dinner, it's just like I didn't realize all the sugar I was eating throughout the day. So because I was eating healthy, at night I would eat tons of dessert, pie, cookies, brownies, ice cream, have lots of dessert, but I was lean. Therefore, I was healthy. Well, I would skip a menstrual cycle, lots of irritability, lots of acne, skin issues, mainly like mental health, like a lot of depression, not like those peaks of energy, then the crashes, and took a nap every day, lots of very tired, fatigue, and just not a nice person, really. So I ended up, after graduating from college in Minnesota, going from San Diego to the Minnesota cold, I was like, okay, 4 years of the snow, I am done with that. So I moved to Hawaii once I graduated, and I met my now husband. So he's 9 years older than me, and at that time he had already done an all fruitarian diet, the vegan diet, the keto diet, the paleo diet, the Mediterranean diet. He had done all the different diets in an effort to live his longest, healthiest, best quality life. And in doing so, he actually made his health worse because he ate a plant-based diet for years and didn't realize how much that was impacting his gut health and his skin. So he ended up finding a ketogenic diet prior to meeting me and healed his gut and his digestion issues with keto. But then when I came into the picture, I was eating my pizza, donut, alcohol diet. And so when you first meet somebody, kind of hard to say like, I don't drink alcohol, I don't have sugar, I don't have dessert, I don't have chips and pizzas, and I don't have fun, right? So he would let it slide where I could get in like a burrito night, some Taco Tuesday, and slowly his gut issues and his skin issues came back. And so then one night he was like, Lillie, I can't keep eating like this. I have to go back to eating a ketogenic diet. And at that time, I thought that meant, okay, we're not going to have rice this week. We're not having bread this month. And he never told me, you have to eat like me, you have to do what I'm doing. But I just looked up to him so much because I would be sitting there eating cookie dough and he was fine not having any dessert. And I was like, how come I need to have sugar to be happy? Why do you come on, you're missing out on life. Let me make you a deep fried Oreo and put it in your mouth because I feel so insecure that I'm doing this and you're not having this with me that I need to force my bad eating habits on you. So I just started asking him more questions. When we go through the grocery store, I'd pick up a piece of food, put it in the cart. He would take it out of the cart, turn it over, read the ingredients and go, that one's for you. And I was like, what? What's wrong with it? Tell me, what did you read? And so slowly I was just learning more about what I was putting into my body. Then there were things where he was like, oh, I'm not going to have a tomato. Well, why not? It's a tomato. It's healthy. Lectins. Well, what's wrong with lectin? So it just slowly evolved over time where we were eating very keto. So meat plus cauliflower wraps, cauliflower rice, cauliflower pizza crust, cauliflower, and other veggies. And he still was having gut issues. And he was like, I think I have to remove the broccoli. I think the spinach is causing me issues. And so slowly he was removing vegetables. And now I'm somebody who's never really had gut issues with veggies, but I don't really like the taste. So I was like, we found a Dr. Ken Berry video where he said you can get all the vitamins and minerals you need from beef, bacon, butter, liver, eggs, and sardines. And I was like, well, that's simple. And I know I have a lot of books and things, and it looks like I have a lot of stuff behind me, but I'm actually a minimalist. So this whole room is empty, but I really gravitated towards that idea because I make so many decisions in a day that to just simplify my life, just eat foods that I think taste really tasty. And also it just makes shopping simple, cooking simple, my whole life simple with just what I eat, then I'm going to stick and do that. So I kind of moved into it just out of curiosity and simplicity, but not because I was actually at that point trying to heal anything with my health, because I actually lost weight, helped my skin, got rid of my knee and joint pain, helped with my irritability and mood swings just by eliminating processed foods. So vegetables and fruit, to me, they're whole foods. I've never really had a problem with those. I just have slowly eased into having less of those things just based on how I feel. And I find it's kind of hard to find fresh produce, especially where I live.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something there that people don't realize until they get into, a fairly animal-based keto diet, like ketovore, and especially into carnivore, is that once you eliminate all of those sort of processed foods, it does make it a lot easier and a lot less stress trying to figure out what you're going to eat. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of the times, my diet's pretty boring. I eat the same kind of things. I like ground beef, eggs, steak, burgers. I know, I'm sure my wife thinks, I don't enjoy eating and all that, but that's the thing is I do. It's just, you're right. It makes it so much easier to decide what you're going to eat, instead of trying to figure out what's going to make me happy, instead of just eating what makes you feel good in the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to, I don't know. I think everyone tries to get to that same point eventually. Some people start these kind of diets and lifestyles to lose weight specifically, but I think ultimately it turns into okay, well, I've lost the weight. Now, what can I do to make my life optimal? And I think that's why so many people gravitate, from a keto diet to ketovore. And then myself, I started 4 years ago, and, nowadays I'm not carnivore by any means, but I'm definitely not keto anymore.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So I think that's just a natural evolution of the lifestyle, I think, or that's what I've seen anyways, with a lot of people. That's not to say that a lot of people can't thrive just even on a dirty keto lifestyle. It's better than eating, Twinkies and tacos all the time. So.
Right. I do coaching calls as well with people. And I find people will come to me and say, I want to do the carnivore diet. I say, okay, why? To lose weight. Okay. So why are you going to do the carnivore diet? Well, I thought that's how I lose weight. You can lose weight eating vegan. You can lose weight eating a standard American diet. You can lose weight eating pizzas and donuts, but I
Hmm.
want to do something that's going to also not make me have joint pain and skin issues and gut distress. And then at the same time, too, I don't want people to just be eating a carnivore diet if they're not going to do it forever. So it's
Right.
like with this, holidays, work events, social life, can we actually do this indefinitely? Some people absolutely yes, and they also need to for their health. But other people, they might not have to go to the extreme of like, I need to eliminate seasonings and I can't have bacon because it has celery powder in it. So I think the main thing that I try to help people with in my coaching calls is like not trying to follow the carnivore diet, not trying to follow the keto diet. We're going to find the Jason diet. We're going to find the Lillie diet. We're going to do the thing that like makes me feel good. I'm also going to enjoy the taste. I'm also going to make it, it's going to work in terms of I don't have to ferment and sprout and soak and spend a bunch of time cooking. And people have a really hard time doing things that are complicated and that they hate for a long period of time. So let's find that thing that is convenient and simple and tasty and sustainable for you in your personal life.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only way that's can be sustainable is if it makes you happy, you know. And like you say, I've said it many times. It's not a exactly what you say. It's not a, you know, a one diet for everybody. One thing's going to work great for someone. You know, some people that are like really strict on one side,
Mm-hmm.
that's not sustainable for a lot of people. So, you know, like you say, when you're trying to find that that perfect diet for yourself, you just have to listen to your body and figure out what works.
Right. And then be open minded too to change as well. Like I know people watch some of
Mhm.
my older content, like I did meat plus sweet potatoes and blueberries. And then it turned into meat plus no sweet potatoes, just blueberries. Then it was meat plus any kind of fruit. Then it was just meat. Then it was meat and condiments. Like it has evolved. And so sometimes I know that for people that can be confusing. They're like, well, you're lying. You can't change your mind. You can't do something new. And it's just what happens is I'm not going to do something because I feel like I have to for other people or to unfortunately not confuse people. Of course, I don't want to do that, but I have to do what works for me, and it's going to change and evolve over time. And that's one of the things I took away with my conversation with Kelly Hogan. She also said that like, hey, I eat carnivore and I do high fat 80-20. But in a year from now, if 80-20 isn't working for me, I'm going to lower the fat and that's going to be okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's definitely something that I try and stress with a lot of people I talk to too, because you're right. I started off, you know, basically going keto, and then but I was still trying to replace all of the nice things, right? The baked goods and the
Mm-hmm.
breads and everything else. And you know, yeah, I lost a lot of weight and I feel a lot or felt a lot better. But then I'm like, okay, well, I still don't feel, I think, as good as I could. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should cut out this part too. And,
Right.
you know, I find it's one of those things as a creator on YouTube too. You're kind of, especially if you know, I do recipe videos sometimes. I stick to fairly easy stuff, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're like, oh, well, this is going to get lots of views, but really, should I be, you know, eating
Eating
it?
that. Right.
So,
I just did that. The video I have posted in 15 minutes, it has me at the end. People have been asking me to make like a special kind of dessert because I just eat yogurt for dessert. And I'm like, that's
mhm,
what I do. But at the same time, I want to be helpful and give people other options, especially for people who don't want to have just the same thing all the time. So how can we make something that's like more healthy? So Carnivore Chris, they came out with this thing called beef flour. So it's just dehydrated beef. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a brownie. So it's beef, eggs, butter, which is what I usually would eat. But then there's some cacao and stevia. And so it turned into a brownie. And I would never eat that. I mean, like I don't even like chocolate, but I did it because I know that for people who like chocolate or that's like a way healthier brownie. That's a way healthier option. Do that. But yeah, like you said, there's sometimes I don't even like, I just eat the same thing and that's okay with me.
yeah, yeah. It's I actually placed my first order for carnivore crisp this or last couple of weeks ago. It's um, they don't sell it locally in Canada here. You have to order it from
Oh,
the US. So it's one of those things where you have to sort of really commit to it because, you know, A, it's really expensive and you have
yeah.
to pay a lot of shipping charges, and B, I don't know, it's probably going to take 6 weeks to get here. So so
Mm-hmm.
but I'm excited to try their products, you know, because I've heard everything I've heard about them has been good so far.
It's nice to mix it up and have that like crunch, just have a change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can only eat so many pork rinds and stuff like that to get that crunch.
Yeah.
So, what do you? I was thinking about a question because you're a health coach and you do a lot of. When I see your content, it's not always just what you eat. It's everything else that goes along with being healthy. So do you? If you were to sort of give it a ratio, what do you think is the ratio between diet, like what you eat, and like the mental and sort of activity side of things? Like, do you think the mental part is more important, or do you think the diet is the important part?
If I had to rank what is the most important thing that somebody could prioritize, it would actually be their sleep. So,
Mm,
because if we don't get good sleep, then the next day we're more likely to make worse choices with our food. And then it's tough for me because I always go through this debate. I'm like, well, what is more important? Reducing stress or prioritizing sleep? Because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. Because if I'm trying to lay down at night to go to sleep, if I have a lot on my mind and I have those racing thoughts and I have a lot of stress, it's going to be harder for me to fall asleep. But then if I don't sleep, then in the morning, I'm going to be more stressed. So I think sleep and stress are very important. So some things that I do to help with my sleep specifically is in the morning, I will get outside and get that morning exposure to daylight, which can help reset our circadian rhythm. I will also get off my electronics and my screens about an hour before I go to bed. Or of course, people can put them on that dim light setting or wear blue light blocking glasses. I also try to have candles, or when I take a shower, not really have those overhead bright lights because that light can still disrupt our sleep. I will put a piece of cardboard in my window with blinds, with a blackout curtain, make sure there's not a of light. I can't even see my hand in front of my face when I go to bed at night. We want it to be a cold room. So I'll set my thermometer to 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and I want it to be quiet too. So there's a lot of different, I have a weighted blanket, I have a grounding sheet. So I definitely prioritize my sleep, and then also find ways to reduce stress, whether that's taking a walk, journaling, meditating, giving gratitude, reading a devotional, reading before I go to sleep, anything to help reduce stress. Then I would say it's diet. So diet would be the next pillar that I would take care of because, if I'm not eating good foods, it's going to also be hard for me to fall asleep or to have less stress. Because when I changed my diet, it helped me reduce my stress because I wasn't having those peaks and crashes in my energy with my blood sugars. So with diet, I think that makes up a huge portion of people's health. And then fitness, exercise would be the icing on top. Now, I think that as far as weight loss goes, I would eat food that is healthy first before trying to work out. But in the same sense, I hear this message that you don't have to work out to be healthy. And while that is true, exercise is so good for, again, lowering stress, helping with sleep. It's great for your brain, for your digestion, for your heart, for your mental health, for your moods. It's so good for so many things that I would never say that people should not exercise. And by exercise too, I mean that can be just walking. That is my favorite form of exercise. It's free, it's easy, it can be done anywhere. And then, or if someone is doing yard work, farming, gardening, cycling, swimming, any form of movement is really great. I know for myself, I sit 90% of my day, I'm sitting. And so anytime where I can get up and just get a little bit of body movement, that's going to be very beneficial and healthy. So diet makes up the biggest portion, but exercise I think is so critical to our overall well-being. And then after that, the icing on top is like infrared, cold showers, those small things, but get the diet right and do the exercise. It's going to make up like 90% of someone's health.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I found the same thing. When I started, I didn't really focus much on sleep and stress, but then I found once I started paying attention to these things and doing, like you say, getting off the computer, which again is pretty hard when you're trying to do work online and things like that. Like I have a full-time job, so the only time I can do creation is at night. But you have to prioritize and get off early enough. And I don't know what you feel about, or when you sort of cut off eating in the evening too,
Mm-hmm.
because I've found the more time I can get between that last meal and bedtime has really helped improve my sleep as well.
Yep, absolutely. That's another one.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you use fasting at all, or is it just uh,
I think fasting is really great for mental cognition, brain function, and for people if they have like cancer or they're trying to heal an autoimmune condition, really reset their gut, then I think fasting is a great tool. I also think fasting just saves people time, and I love saving time. So for people, if they're fasting, but they don't have weight to lose, they're a healthy person, I think fasting is fine. I would just make sure I'm eating enough. Now, for myself, it's really hard for me to get in enough food in just 1 or 2 meals. I am so stuffed. I'm like trying to get in more food just so I think like under eating is a really common theme in a carnivore or animal based or meat heavy diet because the foods are so nutrient dense and satiating and protein heavy that people can get really full off a small amount of food. And while that may be great for weight loss in the long run, that can impact our hormones, that can impact our metabolism. So I work with a lot of people who will say, oh, I'm older, so I have a slow metabolism. And yes, while we age, things do change and become harder. I think that the reason why people's metabolism slows down is because we haven't trained it over the years to work more efficiently when we're older. So think about bodybuilders. They'll go through seasons where they eat more food and they bulk, and then they go through seasons where they cut and they have less food. And in doing so, it's kind of training their metabolism to require to use and adapt to different amounts of fuel. But most of us, we just get in that routine of eating the same time, the same amount of food, pretty much for decades of our life, where then our body just becomes more adapted to that and our basal metabolic rate drops, where then in order to lose weight, I have to eat even less food. So I have people who are coming to me who are trying to lose weight and they're gaining weight eating just this tiny amount of food because their metabolism has been so shot. So I try to help people slowly boost their metabolism as well. And I feel like I just kind of went off on a tangent on what you asked originally.
No, I think that's important though. Like you're right, and I've seen it, here on YouTube and on Instagram a lot too, where people tend to like fasting is great. Like you say, it's a great time saver, and as far as the mental aspect of it, it can really help. Especially if you have something you need to focus on specifically. But I think it's one of these things where it turns into it's a good thing, but it has diminishing returns. If you're not eating enough while fasting, then you're not really gaining any of the benefits that the fasting can bring.
Right.
And then I've also seen the one thing that kind of scares me is how much I see of people, especially on Instagram. When I spent most of my time there for the first couple of years when I was keto, and I saw it basically every Monday morning. Oh, well, I went off the rails this weekend, so now I'm going to fast for 48 hours to get back on track. And, well, I guess if you're mentally in the right place, it's not really going to hurt anything. But I unfortunately feel that takes a lot of people down a path that's not really that healthy.
I've spoken with a lot of binge eaters as well. And now this isn't to say that every binge eater is going to have the same result, but many of them have said that they actually find that when they're fasting, they end up spending more time thinking about food and therefore eating even more the next time they are allowed to eat. And so for people who may have binge eating tendencies, it focuses on the wrong thing of like, okay, now I need to I'm so hungry, I'm focusing on food now, versus if I just fueled myself throughout the day and I felt full, then I wouldn't be obsessing over the food.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I say, I try to, whenever someone asks me about fasting that's just starting on a healthier diet, whether it's keto or whatever, and it usually seems that the first question out of their mouth is, like, how much should I fast? I'm like, well, why don't we focus on fixing, your cravings and everything else to begin with, and just eat as much as you want, but eat the right foods. And then, like I found, is that eventually fasting is just something that comes to you, and it makes it a lot easier to still get the nutrition you need throughout the day, but get some of the benefits from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's like I said, getting back to the content you put out there. I love your the way you know try and focus as much attention on other things other than like what you eat, as well as the sleep part of it. Um, I don't know where I'm going with this, but that's what I find really intriguing about your content on YouTube, is the not just the tunnel vision of carnivore. It's a full spectrum of health.
Thank you. I know that sometimes we just want the quick fix or the easy answer, and it seems complicated, especially if we're in the habit of doing a lifestyle that is kind of all over the place, I suppose, where then like it's easy to just focus on one thing and making one habit stick first. So if I just change the diet first, that's great, versus think I have to now do this with my sleep routine and change this about my exercise, and it can be overwhelming. So I think focus on one thing and just get really good at that one thing first. But at the end of the day too, people will think like that carnivore just solves everything. And while it can help with a lot of things, there's more to life than just what we eat as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what was it? I saw your just yesterday. I think I saw the video you did reviewing the TikTok videos of carnivore creators, and it's crazy some of the stuff that's out there that unfortunately I don't know what their intentions are, but
Shock value.
that it's shock. Wow. Okay. I do know what their intentions are. They want clicks and they want views from the shock value, but it's not doing any service to the community to put out videos that are just going to alienate people from a healthy lifestyle.
Right. It's like if I see a video where someone's like, "Oh, I'm eating snake today." If you actually eat snake, great. But of course, then we have to film it and then make it an ordeal where we seem like the weirdos. And now I don't want to eat a carnivore diet because people are like, "Oh, so you're gonna eat all this like blood dripping, hairnet, bone, all this stuff that I'm like, I would never eat that." But and it gives people a misrepresentation of what an animal-based diet can really do for their health.
Yeah. Yeah, and like even carnivore, keto, all of these diets or lifestyles have had so much pushback and misinformation throughout the years. Like everyone categorizes keto as being unhealthy, and which I've yet to see how it's unhealthy. But I guess it's videos like that that show people, you know, everyone thinks all you do is eat butter and bacon all day long, and which again I'm not against, but it portrays the healthy lifestyles as something really extreme, which isn't really helping anybody.
Right.
So cool. Okay. Well, I usually like to sort of end off the interviews because I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but I like to ask my guests sort of looking back, and again, you've probably answered most of this already today, but if someone comes to you brand new, they have to fix their health, um, you know, regardless of whether they need to lose weight or whatever, what would the first piece of advice you give to someone be?
Eat more protein, because whether someone's goal is weight loss or muscle gains or just eating a healthier lifestyle, our bodies will not signal to our brains, stop eating, I'm full, until it's had enough protein for the day. And so if we're especially eating a processed food diet, if I'm just, okay, I'm going to still keep eating processed foods, fine. I'm just going to prioritize protein on top of that. Inevitably, I'm going to start eating less processed foods because I'm going to be too full to overeat them. So I would say my first piece of advice would just prioritize eating more protein.
Yeah, and that's great advice. And it's one of those things that I'm thankfully hearing more of, because it was weird how when keto really got popular, and carnivore too, everyone sort of, was talking down on protein when really that's what's gonna help you get off these cravings. And you're right. If you're eating a bunch of processed foods, there's no way you can eat them after you've filled up on protein. So, I think that's a great way to start healing your body.
It's just a simple thing to do. Everybody can start doing that today.
Yep, absolutely. That's great advice for sure. Okay, well, I'll put all of your links in the description of the video. Obviously, you have a YouTube channel. You're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yep, and TikTok.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look up those links as well. Do you have a website at all? Or?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get all that information into the description of the video, and so everyone can check out all of your content. Like I say, I've just been binge watching all of your YouTube videos recently, and I definitely enjoy the content. So that's why I reached out to you, and I do appreciate that you've given us the time today to get to know you a bit better, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the invite and for the awesome questions.